Welcome back, everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining us on the El Sereno Insider podcast. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. I just want to say thank you to our council member, Isabel Jurado, for joining us on our first episode. It was great getting to know her. Great having her here. We really appreciate her. And I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. It means a lot to us. And I want to thank our sponsor, AR Legal Team. If you're involved in a traffic collision or you're injured, let them help you out. Let them walk you through all the process. They know what they're doing. It's personal. They grew up in the area. Wilson alumni, AR Legal Team. We'll post a number. They'll take care of you and anything that you need. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, DM, send an email, any questions. Even if you already have an attorney, they'll do a free second opinion. Let them help you out. They're here for you guys. All right, guys, we have our episode 2. We have a special guest. Definitely the most interesting man, the real most interesting man. Not the Dos Equis guy. This is the real most interesting man. We have none other than Lara. Lara, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Vic.
Oh, man, this is an honor, to be honest with you, brother. You are definitely the most interesting man alive.
Alive. Okay. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah. So we have some great stories. Ray is a local guy. He actually grew up in El Sereno, went to Lincoln High School, played baseball, still in the area. He has some great stories about Fernando Valenzuela and how they became friends and how he affected and somehow became part of the Fernando mania here in LA and in El Sereno, man. So this is great. I can't wait to get started. Let's go. All right. So my first question, Ray, is what made you go to Lincoln High School? Because you were in El Sereno at the time, or you were going to move to El Sereno?
No, actually, in '63, when we came here from El Paso, we were living in Juarez and El Paso because we were getting our green card at that time. And you had to live in a border city so that you can come and take care of your x-rays and all your medical while you were getting your clearances. So my parents moved to Lincoln Heights, Avenue 18, over by Downey Playground. So we were there, got there in '63, and I enrolled at Lincoln.
Okay.
Because Lincoln at that time was a junior and senior high school. So I went to Lincoln from '63 till my graduation in '68.
Oh, wow.
So once I graduated, right before we graduated, my dad wanted to move to the famous 3355 Ed Loft. But I talked to him to wait a little time because if I transferred to Wilson, I wouldn't be able to finish my year in pitching. And I was a baseball guy. So as soon as I graduated, we moved over to Ed Loft.
Ed Loft. And this is an interesting story, is that I grew up on Ed Loft as well when I was a kid. And I think we were only a few years apart after you had moved out. So we have a crazy story. We were eating at Chonitos when we discovered that we had lived and grew up in the same house. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, Vic's talking to some guys, and he mentioned Ed Loft. And I just threw out 3355, and Vic looked at me and goes, "Get out of here. How do you know my address?" I said, "Because I don't know your address, but that's where I live." He goes, "Nah." I go, and then I drew the layout of the house inside so he could believe me.
Yeah, that was I thought you were really pulling my leg, man. I was like, "There's no way." And Ed Loft was right across from the Highlands at the time,
Right.
And then right down the hill was Rose Hills,
Right.
So it was kind of central to a lot of things going on there. It was a really cool pad. It was a little active back then when I was there. How about you, Ray?
No, it wasn't that active. The Highlands were barely, they were fairly new.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, when we moved there, the Highlands were, because my brother lived in one of the apartments there, and they still smelled nice, and the plumbing was still very good.
Right,
so
right.
Yeah, they were fairly new, and no, it was pretty civil.
Yeah. When I was there, it was there was a lot going on, the parties and the back then the fights would be, a one-on-one.
Yeah.
They'd scrap in the middle of the street, take off, and then, the same two guys would probably be coming back at it, a week later, and it was like it was one-on-ones back then. So, but it was pretty crazy at that time, and but it was actually a cool place to grow up.
I liked it because they wouldn't speed because, first of all, the hill coming up Bedloft, and then if you're going the other way, you had to slow down because you weren't going to be going down that hill.
Yeah, and there was a little turn at that hill.
So we're right in the corner. It was a good spot. Yeah.
Yeah, and you still have some pictures of that front of the front of that location, right?
Yeah, when I got my Mustang Mach 1 '69, I parked right in front of the house.
Nice. Okay, so then you're there. You're in El Sereno, and like I said, Lincoln Heights is our neighbors, and most of the when I was growing up. Everybody went to the junior high, El Sereno Junior High. It was a junior high back then. And then you would decide whether you were going to go to, Lincoln or Wilson. And then, of course, some of the guys went to Catholic school. And
back then, there was some pretty competitive baseball teams. Wilson was very strong. Eagle Rock was, and Lincoln, I mean, we won the championship like 7-8 years in a row, but it was very competitive. I mean, you guys had some very good ball players. One of the best ball players that I played with ever was a guy from Wilson, a guy named Felix Garza. That guy was unbelievable. He was just a natural athlete. And then, of course, you had Ricky Hollandback.
Hollandback, yeah, he was a multi-sport stud, right? Yeah.
So we played together in teams, right? Back then, what's now the traveling teams.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and how often did you play at El Sereno Park? Were you often?
Well, there was a very good team put together. It was called the El Sereno Braves. Mm. And I used to love that because our uniforms were made by Goodman and Sons.
Oh yeah, Olympic, right?
Who made the major league, and we wore just like the Cardinals, and Atlanta. So it was the El Sereno Braves, just like the Brave uniforms, and we were out of El Sereno. It was a very, very good team.
Awesome. Yeah, because I also remember growing up, the baseball fields, obviously at El Sereno Park, but Rose Hills up on the hill, right?
Still there.
Is that still there?
I can't, you guys got a field. Everybody got a field. Lincoln still has the same old playground,
Yeah.
The recreation center, Rose Hills.
Yeah. So as far as like Rose Hills, right? Because back when we were playing, you guys, Lincoln played mostly at Rose Hill, correct?
Yeah, the varsity played at Rose Hills. In '66, varsity started playing at Rose Hills. Prior to that, they played at Hazard.
Okay.
Terrible place.
Right.
And then we went from there, and we thought we had to make it Rose Hills, but it was better than Hazard. So.
Yeah. Because when my sophomore year, 10th grade year, we played Lincoln at Rose Hills, and then the junior and senior year we ended up playing at Hazard Park. That was kind of it was interesting. Neither field was great though, to be honest with you.
I mean, we took what we could. I mean. When I first got here, we used to play at Downey Playground.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So we were at Downey, and we'd work out at Downey 3-4 times a week.
Yeah, wherever there was a field, it didn't matter back then, right?
Yeah. And a lot of the guys that were in the team at Downey became the team at Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
So there was probably the 8 or 9 guys were from Downey. 1 or 2 were from Rose Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now when we're touching the baseball field or a little bit of the baseball aspect, but you were a player of the year couple of years, right, at Lincoln, and then you had Bobby Castillo under you, right, basically, or you went back to coach.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, what happened is in '68 when I graduated, I went back and I worked with the pitchers in 70, 71. And I used to go, Bobo also played for the Downey Playground team. And the coaches would have me go and work out with the older guys, and Bobo was one of the older guys. So I worked with Bobo there. Then later on, when he was at Lincoln, he was a senior, we'd go and work on the screwball and the curveball.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you go back and you teach. Bobby Castillo was a Dodger. He was actually recruited by the Kansas City Royals.
Kansas City Royals
as a third baseman,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he goes on to play Kansas City Royals. He gets released.
We were working out up at Cal State, and then I saw Bobo arrive. I go, Bobo, what's going on? I go, said, they released me. Kansas City released me. I said, you were doing well, because he was hitting very well at the time. He goes, no, they signed this guy named George Brett.
Oh,
wow. I said, who? Guy named George Brett. So who the hell is that? Well,
we don't know who he is.
So then I used to tell Bob, hey, look who they released you for, brother.
Yeah, that's, man.
Yeah, it's like saying, hey, Pete Rose. You know,
Right,
I got cut because
sure.
of Pete Rose.
For
yeah,
sure.
so then Mike Breurto asked Bobo to go pitch in Monterrey, Mexico.
Okay.
So Bobo went down and pitched for Sultanes de Monterrey, so in the Mexican League. And he's doing good. And Brito convinced the Dodgers to give him a shot.
Nice.
So the Dodgers signed him. They bought his contract from Monterrey.
Oh, wow.
And Bobo came and started
playing pitching for the
Yeah,
Dodgers.
pitching for
And Mike Brito he's a Cuban guy, right? Baseball player.
Yeah.
And then became basically a scout, right, for Latin baseball players.
You know, Mike, I knew Mike very well. Mike was quite a guy. He was a catcher for the Indios de Juarez.
Oh, wow.
Back in 58, 50, yeah, in the late 50s. But he was compadres with Mantequilla Nápoles, the great boxer, the welterweight champ, and the Rico Cardi. I mean, a bunch of guys I met. He would bring them to the parks. Hey, look who's there, you know, in the big leaguers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he'd bring big leaguers to like Evergreen Park, El Sereno Park, Rose Hills.
Yeah. So Mike Brito brought a lot of those guys, and he was involved with baseball, and the Dodgers gave him a shot as a part-time scout, a bird dog.
Okay.
Then they promoted him, and he was able to make some good calls. Mm-hmm. And in fact, Brito was the International Scout of the Year about 3 years ago.
Wow.
He ended up, you know, that's so.
He had a good eye, right? Because he had, I've read the list. I don't know all of them, but I guess one of the last big ones was Puig, right? Correct? He scouted Puig.
Puig, Urias.
Yeah.
And then he's the one that gave the second opinion on Fernando.
Wow. So he basically scouts. Fernando, and then sends Bobby Castillo to go.
Yeah, when Fernando signed, they wanted him to learn a third pitch.
Third pitch, right?
So Fernando didn't want to throw the slider. Mm-hmm. So he was trying to work on the curveball, and so they started having him turn the ball over. And Fernando had a lot of very natural move, so the ball would turn over, means it goes the opposite way. Mm-hmm. And then that's when they said, why don't we send Castillo to San Antonio and work with that for the ball? And Fernando caught it on real well, yeah. And
wow,
here came the screwball.
All right, so let's recap this real quick, because I also wanted to touch this because we missed this, but you're player of the year 2 years out of Lincoln, then. You get recruited by the Dodgers, right? You sign with the Dodgers, or you're about to sign with the Dodgers?
Yeah. I was about to sign.
You're about to sign with the Dodgers, then you go on a little trip with your buddies.
Yeah, we had a contract, and my brothers said, "Hey, Rick, go to UCLA. You can get to UCLA because on a player scholarship." Mm-hmm. And that was also the year in '68. UCLA opened up. Because after the walkouts, UCLA opened up a lot to the
Chicanos.
The Chicanos. So say you can get in there one way or the other, and then you can make the team and you can pitch. So go to school, and then if you don't like it, quit and sign. And I said, no, you know what?
I want to play ball.
I want to play ball. So well, I'll let you know Monday. So that was on a Fridays. It's the famous Saturday morning is when I call my buddies.
Oh, yeah.
Borrowed my dad's station wagon. I borrowed my brother's rifles. And
take a ride.
Infamous little 22 that he told me, leave that in the drawer. Don't take that with you. Well,
that's the first one you took,
but
right?
also I took it, and we got up there, tailgate. I was loading the gun and slipped off my hand, hit the ground, and put a bullet through my hand. So
man,
there went everything.
There went everything. So you don't sign, right? You don't sign.
Yeah.
Your baseball dream kind of just died right there, basically.
Yeah, it was tough. I was young, and since the bullet severed the ulnar nerve, I had no movement, so I really couldn't pitch. I could throw the ball, but to sit there and throw 70, 80 times, the arm would go completely dead after about 30. So I became an outfielder.
Okay.
And I played in the Mike Breurto leagues. And I played for Mike Breurto. We used to travel in his traveling team all through Mexico. And in one of those trips, Fernando was down there.
Okay. So is that the first time you see him? You meet him?
Yeah. He
was a young kid.
Yeah, what happened in those games, we'd go down there, and after the game was the biggest party.
Okay.
The cops would close off the street, and,
celebrate with a couple
of beer and music and everything till the sun came up,
Wow.
And then they said, hey, that kid is going to sign with the Dodgers. Months later, we're here. My buddy calls me and goes, remember that kid that was going to sign with the Dodgers? Well, he's at Dodger Stadium. They brought him up. So, well, let's go see him. And when we got there, he was shagging. They were taking batting practice. Fernando was shagging. So we called him. I mean, it wasn't crowded. It was just batting. Right. So he heard us. He came over and told me, hey, remember us? He goes, oh, yeah.
Yes.
So he goes, you know where Mike Breurto lives? I go, yeah. He goes, I'm staying with Mike Breurto. He goes, can you guys give me a ride?
Yeah.
Yep, we'll give you a ride.
Oh, man.
I said, man, I hope this kid makes it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so we waited for him after the game. No, here comes Ron Say and Garvey and Lopes. Everybody knew them. Who's this guy?
Yeah.
So he walked out, and we took him over to Sunset.
Is that where Mike Breurto lived?
No, Mike Breurto lived over by Fresno Park.
Oh, you guys took him out drinking?
Well, no, just took him to Sunset. Had a few beers. We did.
Oh, okay, not him, right? He was too young.
Remember, he was only 20, so.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so
you guys took him out. You guys showed him around the town and stuff. Showed him all the good spots.
Then took him home, and then he goes, we'll pick you up tomorrow. We picked him up the next day.
Oh, wow. So you guys became friends, basically just kind of showing him around and showing him the ropes here in L.A.?
Yeah, so he ended up pitching, I think, 4 games.
That year, right? His rookie year?
In relief.
He was a reliever, right?
In relief. And then the season ended. We stayed in touch with his compadre, real nice guy. We would communicate. And then he said, hey, I got invited to spring training. So we went to Vero Beach his first year.
Okay.
And he was there, and they were going to make the cut. And they said, we need left-handers. So they kept him, and then Jerry Royce ended up hurting his foot. So
he wasn't able to start, right?
Yeah, we need a left-hander, so go start Fernando.
Yeah, his basically his rookie season, right?
It was his rookie season, yeah.
Wow, so he comes out, right? He just tears it up, right?
He goes out there and said, please, oh man, just get through this inning. And then they say, oh God. By the 5th inning, I said, my God.
He's going
Oh,
still.
man, what a miracle if you just finish this game. So he threw a shutout
Wow.
and finished the game, obviously.
That's crazy, man.
So
That just,
we were all crazy and said, "Oh,
Yeah.
can you imagine doing it again?" He did it 8 games in a row.
yeah, that's right, huh?
Shutouts.
Shutouts. That's amazing. That's pretty amazing.
Oh,
and
man,
that's
yeah.
when the
Yeah.
Fernando
Fernando
Mania just
Mania.
blew up, right? We
Yeah.
had all the Latinos, especially the Mexicans showing up to Dodger games.
I remember I met a lot of people through Fernando. So many people. I've been so many places with him. But the one, Fernando was in more covers in national magazines than anybody in the world except the Pope. Because the Pope they tried to shoot him, an assassination attempt. So when they covered that assassination attempt on the Pope, he's the only person that appeared in more magazine covers than anybody
Is that right?
in the entire world.
Wow.
That's a fact.
As a young Mexican kid. Huh?
All over the world, yeah.
Wow. El Toro. They call him
Yeah.
El Toro. Did he like that nickname by chance? Or
Well,
do
what happened is the Herald Examiner said, "Hey, what should we call this guy?" So they put out a contest. And the Herald Examiner, in fact, I have the article. And this gentleman, El Toro, but there was like 20 other people. So they drew, out of those 20 or 30 that said Toro, they drew one. And it's a Cuban gentleman. Yeah, and Fernando met him way later because Elliot, the body shop next to the IHOP, I took Fernando's Corvette there. Fernando and I went, and Elliot, did what he had to do. He goes, "Hey, would you say hello to my father-in-law, to my one of my employees' father?" So he came out. He happened to be there, and he's the one that named him El Toro.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
So
wow.
Fernando met the gentleman that
Full
won.
circle.
Yeah,
That's crazy. And by the way, the Herald Examiner was a newspaper.
Oh,
By the way, it was like the LA Times,
Yeah.
and then it went extinct, right?
Yeah. For those of you don't remember,
Yeah, there
Herald Examiner.
was a Herald Examiner, man. There was an El Sereno Star as well, and that went out.
yeah,
I was on that.
Those were the Northeast
Yeah,
newspapers.
Northeast, yeah.
There was Lincoln Heights Bulletin,
Oh, is that right?
El Sereno
El
Star,
Sereno Star.
Eagle Rock Sentinel. Yeah, so Northeast newspapers were the ones that, yeah.
They ran that. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, so all right, so you guys were connected. You guys became really good friends. You guys were best friends till the very end. What was he like?
Besides Moody, he
was a moody guy.
yeah. He was a good guy.
Yeah.
He was moody.
Yeah.
So I just say, you know what? One day we're traveling because he didn't like to fly, so I drove with him all over the place. And I say, you know what? I'm going to bring a parakeet next time. A parrot. And he goes, a parrot? He goes, are you drinking? I go, no. He goes, what are you talking about? That way I can talk to someone.
Somebody. You just moody. You think I wouldn't talk or anything.
I said, so should I talk to myself or you want to talk? No. One day we went to Albuquerque. And I swear to God, we argued for about 4 hours.
Like husband and wife, right? When you get your best friend like that, you got
we're arguing. Yeah.
About nothing, probably,
But nothing.
too, right?
Yeah. You always want to be right. No, you want to be right. Yeah.
Who's more stubborn? Right?
He would say, you know nothing about baseball. So I said, I know more than you do. I said, just because you became Fernando.
Yeah.
I said, remember, I knew you before you were Fernando.
That's right. Hey, and somehow, that accident, you taught Bobby the screwball
Yeah.
that then taught Fernando. So basically, if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be no Fernando, man. No
my
Fernando
God,
Mania, bro. You know.
I don't know. You know, that guy was just, he was just.
Yeah, and he was a. I had the opportunity and the honor to meet him a couple of times. And he was an excellent golfer, man.
Oh yeah.
He was a stud golfer. He's always played at Montebello.
Yeah.
And just to watch him swing, man, it was pretty impressive because he was a big boy, and he could smack the crap out of that ball, a lefty.
That's when I knew something was wrong when he would hit the ball. I go, "Is your shoulder hurting?" He goes, "No." I noticed he was losing power because he could
Just
drive
getting
the
weaker.
hell out of the ball.
Smack it.
And then a year ago, I started noticing that his ball wasn't going as far as.
Oh man.
I said, "Are you all right? Your shoulder okay?" No, enough. And that's none of your business. I said, "Well, you know, oh yeah.
You didn't want,
none of your business."
No,
Yeah,
man.
because if I tell you, you're gonna go tell Opinion, and then you're gonna tell ESPN. Everyone's gonna know.
Everybody's gonna know. I can't tell Ray
I
anything.
So I told him, everyone's gonna know something's wrong with you, huh? Nothing wrong with you. That's what I said.
Yeah. And you guys would have. How often would you guys have breakfast? Because you guys were always at Chonitos.
Yeah, we'd probably hook up 3-4 times a week.
Okay. Yeah. You guys always. But it was mostly for breakfast, right? You guys were always together.
Breakfast, but you know, he could sit there 3-4 hours. I go,
Really?
Fernando, I got things to
gotta
do. Well,
go,
get
man.
out of here. Leave.
Yeah.
And don't come back tomorrow. I go, no. First of all, this is not your restaurant.
That's your restaurant. You
And
took
if
them there.
anyone want to come back, I'll come back tomorrow. I don't care what you say.
What was his favorite dish there at Chonitos?
Chilaquiles, and they made some gobernador tacos. They call them gobernadores at Chonitos. And then they called them the 34s. So if you wanted a taco,
wow, that was his for him.
the way he liked them, yeah. So it was all vegetables.
Oh wow,
Very, very good.
Is that right?
So yeah. So that's what he would eat. He started having problems with his teeth, and so everything had to be very soft.
Oh wow, you really couldn't eat and chew.
Yeah, everything had to
Yeah.
be real soft. So yeah.
Hey Ray, and he didn't drink, huh?
Fernando quit drinking probably 23 years ago.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. And I know you told me a little bit about that story. Did you want to share that? Is that something you can share?
When he
Was it
when
the Corvette where you couldn't find it?
When he called me and said, "Where's my Corvette?" I said, I don't know. I mean, you left, and then he called me back. Goes, "It's in the garage." And then I saw them either that night or the next evening, and I ordered beers, and he goes, I don't want a beer." I said, "Okay, so what do you want?" He goes, "No, I'm not drinking." I go, "Yeah, right." And
That was it.
they
Huh?
never drank again.
Wow.
We're in Arizona, and Fernando's, "Let's go to the bar." I said, "I mean, we can drink in the room now." He goes, "Let's go to the bar." We'd go to the bar, and he would buy me my drinks. Have another one. I go, "Enough."
Yeah.
Just to make it a point, he quit
Yeah.
drinking.
So he didn't want you. He didn't want to
said,
hinder your
yeah,
party, right? Yeah.
He says, "Hey, what should? Let's go to the bar." I said, I like that about the guy.
Yeah.
Just because he quit, he knew that
You like to drink.
I
Yeah.
like to drink.
Yeah, he wasn't going to kill your party.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
but as far as back to Fernando, right? You guys are hanging out. You guys are good friends. And then at some point you find out that he's sick, or you kind of always knew that he was sick, right? Like, or did you start sensing it?
Yeah,
And
he took very good care of himself with what he ate. He did whatever he could to stay healthy. Yeah, that's no doubt, And every so often, you know what? Forget it. He'd get a cookie, and so we say, "Hey, are you having an issue with diabetes?" It's none of your business. Well, then, no, none of your business. But
Right.
we could tell
you
what's
start
going
sensing
on.
that
Yeah.
something's wrong. Something's not right.
Yeah.
But he won't tell you.
No.
He won't
No,
tell you,
no.
right? It's
I
like
mean,
a pride and
in his
ego.
own little way, he would turn around and say something as he's turning around, go, what? Goes, what? But he would try to say some, that was his style.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, he was very, very private.
Yeah.
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 So we were trying to ask him. I remember one time I told him, when people ask you something, just tell them, read the book. And he tells me, what book? I go, that's it. There ain't no book. So you just tell the people, read the
Read the
book.
book.
So he goes, Fernando, you ever goes, well, read the book. There's a book? Well, it's coming. When? It's coming. I told him, see, Fernando,
Yeah,
that
see
way,
how it works? Yeah.
you don't have to answer any
Right,
more
yeah.
questions. Just say, read the
Read
book.
the book. That's awesome. That's all. There's another story that I wanted to kind of touch on. He gets invited. I think it was after that 81 the season, right, where Dodgers win the World Series, and then he gets invited to the White House, right?
Oh, yeah.
With Ronald Reagan,
Yeah.
and then the president from Mexico, right?
Yeah.
So he goes there, and he's still a kid, right? A Mexican kid.
Yeah. And there's a huge line of congressmen and senators in line with a baseball, and he's sitting there signing and signing. And he goes, he asked me, why so much about this trip to the White House? What was the big deal? And I said, well, first of all, you're sitting there having dinner between two presidents, the Mexican president, the American presidents, and Reagan was in the verge of either signing or not signing a particular bill that would help a lot of the Hispanics. And after you left, he signed the bill.
Wow.
Also, because of me, so you think I go, no, Fernando, call it what you want, but after you left, they signed that bill.
Wow. He's a big part of that, huh?
Yeah, but he would never accept credit.
Wow.
Fernando would
Really
never,
humble man, right?
He would never take credit for anything like that.
Wow.
When they did the 30 for 30, the Dodgers told ESPN, we want to be the first ones to see it. So we'll have it at the Stadium Club. And we'll open it up to certain individuals. So since I was in it, they gave me four passes. So when we got there, there's a lot of people and all the owners, and there's Fernando's shirt, and then next to it was Tommy Lasorda's. So I kind of moved some stuff around so that I sat next to Fernando.
That's good. Yeah.
So he looks at me and goes, they're going to tell you something. I said,
Wow.
I said, well, they're going to tell something. They're going to move you to the back. You shouldn't have done that. I said, Fernie, we're here.
Yeah.
So
Let's see what happens.
so they say, okay. And then it starts, I don't know if you've seen it, Fernando Nation.
I haven't. I got to
It
check
starts where they're kicking everybody out of Chavez Ravine.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're moving everybody and the lady and
51,
and the
right?
sheriff.
There's 51, 1951?
Yeah, so Fernando's watching and the Dodgers and everyone's watching, like saying,
Oh, wow.
So Fernando goes, that happened? I go, it happened like that. He goes, and everyone's kind of like doing this. And you ought to watch it. And so it starts. It's called Fernando Nation,
Okay.
ESPN 30 for 30. And later Fernando goes, I didn't know that happened. I go, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and because of you, people came back. He
mended the...
to watch the Dodgers.
Yeah, mended the relationship, right?
A lot of people said, because and he goes, because of me. I go, well, dude, hello.
Yeah.
I said, you did all this, and so you brought a lot of the Mexicans back.
Definitely, because I think it was like I think at that time it was the fan base was all white, basically, right? It was all white. Till Fernando came in and he kind of fixed that a little bit, because people that don't know got the Chavez Ravine, they got kicked out. They kicked out. The city kicked them out. Everybody out. Families, right? A lot of mostly Latinos.
Yeah.
Some Italians, some Chinese, but mostly Latinos, right?
Mostly Latinos.
At Chavez Ravine, they built. Then they sold
the
they
state.
sold it, to Brooklyn, what was
well,
Brooklyn Dodgers?
they lied to him. They said, hey, listen, we're going to give vouchers. They're going to rebuild, and you're going to be able to come back.
Right? Yeah.
And then they made up some excuse that one of the councilmen or somebody
Or
that
the
was
mayor.
or somebody that
Yes.
was associated with the Communist Party, and they stopped everything, and the people never got their houses again, and the Dodgers built the stadium.
Ray, like I said, man, you are super interesting, man. And when you were in high school, you were the class president.
Yeah, I was
During what time?
It was you had the B12 and the A12. So I was the class president. In '67, Mr. Sal Castro,
That was a teacher, right?
Yeah. And being involved in, that was in the paper a lot. So he said, Lara, come to my room, and I got to talk to you about a few things. And he's got this table layout with servings and salads. So what's this? He goes, sit down. If you get invited, this is the way you're supposed to use. So taught me all that etiquette.
All the etiquette, eating.
And sure enough, because I got my Player of the Year award at Anaheim Stadium in the pitching
Oh,
room.
nice.
Both years, yeah. So, and after that fancy dinner, and I took my mom.
Nice.
So my mom was with me, and I had to tell her which spoon and what what
yeah,
fork
yeah.
to. Anyway, yeah. So he said, there's something that we need to do here about the Chicanos, and he said, we gotta have this movement, but I need people like you to help me because everyone knows you. You're a good vato, and you're everyone. So, okay, what do you need me to do? He goes,
Spread the word, huh?
yeah, he goes, well, just, be alert. We don't have any, sometimes once a week we get frozen burritos, we need to know about our raza, about our culture, where we came from, because Lara, because you were born, and so you went to school down there, so but
You
here,
know the culture.
here most of us Chicanos don't know nothing about. So he convinced me, and I said, okay, yeah. So I was one of the leaders
organizers
because
and
I happened to be in the 11th grade. We voted for the 12th grade, so and that's when we started planning the walkouts.
The walkouts?
Yeah.
Wow.
And a lot changed. So much changed after that. At first, people just say, "What are you doing?" Just get with it, and but now you look back, and
it made a big difference.
Yeah,
Huh?
made a big difference.
Chicano studies. And
Yeah, so thank Mr. Castro. He's the guy that started, and there was a lot of people that graduated with me, of course. That were very instrumental in
getting that going,
getting it through. Yeah,
because it was started with Lincoln Heights, and then Wilson joined in.
Yeah, all the East LA schools joined in.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty awesome. It's part of history, man. You're man.
Yeah.
Part of a lot of history.
And what's funny is when I got here in '63, I got discriminated on by my own
people.
Hey, mojado, hey, wetback,
Wow.
And my dad said, "No te pelees, don't fight, Ramon." I said, "Dad, I don't know, Dad." He goes, "Don't fight, because we got an opportunity to come to this country.
Don't screw it up.
Fight, don't mess it up." Well, no, I had no choice.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta
I'm
fight.
one of those like, "Dad, you gotta do what you gotta do."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
Man, it's pretty awesome. So you survive that. You survive. You go on. You teach Bobby Castillo the screwball. He goes on, teaches Fernando the screwball. Fernando mania. Then you become you join the law enforcement.
I'm getting a haircut at Charlie's at 5 Points over by Thrifty's, and I'm sitting there, and he's got LAPD cards all over. And I go, "Charlie, you know all these guys?" He goes, yeah, they all get their haircuts here. I go, "Wow." He goes, "Ever thought of being a cop?" I go, "No, not really." He goes, "Well, Saturday, go to the academy, and they're having this huge, you just sign up, and they're going to hire a bunch of cops." I said, "Really?" Well, Saturday comes,
Go take the test.
I drove up there and I said, let's see. And I walk up and A, B, C, D, E, F. So you get in line with your last name, and I'm in line. Fill this out. Okay, real quick. Just name. And then they move you over. Okay, right here. Write why you want to be a cop. And they said, and, take 3 minutes. Okay. And then they start weeding you out, something, I guess.
Right.
Little by little. So then I get to the point where they go, why do you want to be an officer? And there's 3 people there. Well, I want to serve the community and I want this. Okay. Here I come. I go, why are you here? Why do you want to be an officer? I said, you want my honesty? And go, yeah. I was getting a haircut. I said, and my barber asked me that, and I never thought about it, and that's why I'm here.
So they say, we'll hire you?
And they said, you're hired.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
man.
but, and then you go through the process. Yeah, that's.
Well, you were honest. They wanted your honesty, right? So you don't play at Dodger Stadium, but you're right next door because the academy is right there at Legion Park, right across.
We run around there and do the whole.
Yeah. Now you also worked the Hollandback division, which covers El Sereno. So what was that like back when you were on? What was it like?
Back then, El Sereno was northeast, and there was an issue where northeast needed some help, and back then the frequencies were different. Like I mentioned, we had call boxes. So you get your big game war call box key, and you got your 999 key.
Yeah.
So you go to the game war call, and whenever you had to call the station, you'd call from that phone.
Like a legit call box. It was like a phone booth, right? On Broadway, North Broadway, in Lincoln Heights.
It's a box, and there was an issue, and back then they didn't have the frequencies were connected, so they had to redo Northeast, and they gave El Sereno to Hollandback.
And real quick, just to touch base on that, it was because of an incident that happened at Tony's Hofbräu on Valley Boulevard. And you guys remember Tony's Hofbräu, the Boombas? That's kind of what started it. It was a backup call or a help call, correct?
Yeah, they put out a help call, and I think Almani PD were the first cars that responded to help them.
Wow.
And you think about it, wow, Almani. And then you would, that's how communications were terrible back then.
Right?
I mean, Alhambra's right around, they didn't get communicated to them, and because of that, and then after that shooting in 77th, where one side of the street didn't know that they were getting ambushed because the communication, they redid all the communications back then. Yeah. So in the early 70s, they went through a lot of communication revamps. But it's, the guys that worked Northeast stayed at went to Hollandback, so that they can get us acclimated with the area. So.
And as far as like, what do you think about like law enforcement right now? Because what we're getting is a lot of there's really like no support. There's a lot of disrespect. Back in the day, there was like unwritten rules. There was a lot of respect for law enforcement. And if you were messing up or screwing around, and you ran or you were up to no good, you were gonna get a serving, right? But now it's like people have no respect. They're in officers' face, filming and talking shit. And it's like, man, that's somebody's son, that's someone's daughter, that's somebody's mother, that's someone's, and there's just no respect. Like, would you be able to handle being an officer now in this time of?
I mean, my son's a lieutenant, so when he goes, hey, Dad, I go, in your time, you'd be indicted. I go, yeah. I mean, if it was now, but all that changed. We have different police officers now. I don't know. I do polygraphs.
Right.
I do lie detectors for law enforcement, and over the years, they're lowering
The
the
standards.
standards.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, a bunch of us, I think we never would have got a job if we had to take a polygraph. I don't know,
Right.
but back in those days. But and nonetheless, I see they're lowering the standards. So what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe the people that we're getting now don't have the background, the
Street smarts.
the street smarts. We were taking people with degrees over people that didn't have a degree but grew up all their life in Sereno or Lincoln Heights.
Right.
And I used to argue, said, this guy will become a better officer.
Right, absolutely.
Just by the simple fact, I ask a question, have you committed a serious crime you haven't told us about? And these candidates, if they went to Beverly Hills High School, will say, what's a serious crime? Well, you tell me. I said, well, yeah, I think, one time we went under the fence to go play basketball. Because that's
a serious crime for them. Yeah.
And that's a serious crime to them.
Yeah.
Us, well, really? And I mean, they're serious.
Yeah.
But that's the upbringing.
Yeah, it's different environment,
and
different
I think
worlds.
your mentality is different when you're out there working the streets, where serious is serious.
Right.
You're not intimidated.
Yeah, and I think there, a lot of it is just trying to go towards like a little less hands-on and more let's talk it out. With social workers responding to a lot of these calls and. I don't know. It's just difficult to see, I mean, because you can't. Most agencies are having a hard time hiring. Correct?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost impossible. People don't want to be police officers.
I think LAPD is going to be down to 9,000 cops.
Yeah. And then they just cut their budget. We talked to the council.
9,000. My God. I mean, supposed to be at 11,500. 12, 13,000.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough job, man. And again, man, thank you for your service, man. You did put in a lot of years in the community. You're still a big part of the community and still assisting with.
And I was bilingual.
Bilingual, man. You're
real bilingual.
You're gold. But talking about law enforcement, we just had Hollandback Division had an event. It's Tip a Cop. And it's to raise funds for the Special Olympics. And MX 3030 is an awesome restaurant. Food is delicious. They have the aguas frescas here on Alhambra Avenue and Lombardi. We were there. We did some interviews. They had a great turnout. They raised some good money there. Hello, everybody. This is Victor from Sereno Insider. We're here on Alhambra Avenue and Lombardi, covering an event. It's called Tip a Cop. It's for Special Olympics in the LAPD Hollandback Division, hosted by MX 3030, the restaurant.
Yeah, today we're doing an event for the Special Olympics. We're trying to give back to the community, so whatever you bring in, we're giving it out. Trying to take care of the family,
We love donations year round. Special Olympics has competitions all over the region, actually all over the footprint of Southern California. All year we have our big summer games coming up in June at Cal State Long Beach, and fall games coming up later in the year.
Any updates for the community real quick, my brother?
You know what, get involved somehow or another, whether it's our monthly meetings, weekly meetings. We just opened up a new neighborhood watch on Ithaca, so if you want to get involved, reach out to me and let me know how you want to get involved.
Awesome. And where can we reach you, or how does that work?
My cell phone number is 424-339-503. That doesn't work. My email is 32068@lapd.online.
If you're here in the area and having a special event and would like us to come out and cover your event, send us a DM or email. Let's get the Sereno Insider out there for you guys. All right, we have just a tip from Senior Lead Officer Frank Dominguez. Catalytic converters are being stolen in the area. If you have a Toyota they're targeting Toyotas mostly. So just make sure you're aware, be safe, keep your car in a safe place, and look out for one another. I want to thank our guest, Ray Lara, the most interesting man alive, for coming in today and sharing some of your stories, man. From El Sereno to Lincoln Heights to Fernando Valenzuela and teaching them the screwball. That's pretty impressive, pretty amazing. The walkouts. Thank you, Ray. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Vic.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you ever, it's another El Sereno spot. It's not an El Sereno, but it's an El Sereno spot. It's called JD's, and they have a drinks called the Ray Lara.
That's right.
No way.
Yeah. So Ray Lara's got his drink.
What's the Ray Lara drink?
Is it a tequila? Tequila and what?
Yep, tequila, just tequila. Yeah.
Just tequila.
Just tequila? All right.
So Ray Lara, if you're at JD's, and the entire El Sereno hangs out there. So next time you're in the area, make sure you get Ray Lara or Ray Lara.
All right.
We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Do me a favor, go to the YouTube, go to the channel, El Sereno Insider Podcast, subscribe, make sure you like it, share, comment anything you want to see, any suggestions, anything you want to know about, learn about. We're going to be touching on a bunch of different topics, so we really appreciate your input. Thank you for joining us. We love you. Stay safe. Let's go.